Hi, my name is Talia Kennedy and I'm presenting my solution to ordering food in a group. The key issues discovered in my Task 1 analysis include limited visibility of selection status, inability to recover from mistakes or go back, lack of group order payment methods, and clear affordances. The emotions that arose from these were confusion and frustration amongst my users. The opportunity question I developed is, what is the best way for a group of people to order takeaway from their own device on the same order whilst paying in the most fair and seamless manner? My goals were to implement clear affordances, greater visibility of selections, and have a range of payment options allowing users to pay fairly, catering towards my persona's demographic. My solutions to the aforementioned issues include a guest enter name function rather than signing in, group order selection very clear on home page with invite guest button, group order details on home page and all possible following interfaces. This promotes user freedom and control and error prevention, and various group payment options. I brainstormed and iterating using sketching and wireframes in my journal. I finalized an application that is primarily for group ordering, focusing on using clear, user-friendly affordances and error prevention. For example, a group order details drop-down bar or back or exit button on as many interfaces as possible, allowing users to always recover from their errors, promoting user freedom and control. I then ideated my digital ecosystem. After brainstorming, I decided to involve an additional smartphone that a guest invited to the group order uses. Guests receive a link that takes them straight to the application or web page that is also able to fulfill their order. After gaining feedback from my graphical user interface analysis, it is evident that signing into an account when being invited is problematic, and entering a name as a guest is much more seamless. I also implemented a button that allows guests to notify the host when they have finished adding to cart. The guests have to simply enter their name, browse, add to cart, and notify the user when they are ready. My low-fidelity paper prototyping was iterative. I adjusted the order of task flow several times to develop it. For example, I discovered that after adding to cart, the restaurant interface would return rather than the home interface, which I initially did. Attached is an example of my low-fidelity prototype testing. I was given feedback on minor elements such as introducing a loading page with a logo before the home page, which I then implemented into my next prototype. This user testing allowed me to become familiar with the exact order of interface flows and micro interactions. It also allowed me to realize various elements I was missing. My medium fidelity digital prototyping utilized Figma to develop from my low fidelity prototyping and wireframes. I removed unnecessary extras such as tips when finalizing payment and focused on creating clear, seamless micro interactions, ensuring I was achieving the most accurate flow of interfaces and accounting for every pain point discovered in Assessment 1. When testing my early medium fidelity digital prototype, I was given various forms of feedback, an example being to remove a pop-up notification notifying the host of the group order of the order being locked if all group members aren't ready. This language lacks user control and freedom, and thus I implemented this feedback as I also had an option to order within a time frame. I was also given the feedback that there was no profile interface, although having the profile button on the bottom taskbar on my low fidelity prototype and developed this for my medium fidelity prototype. During medium fidelity testing, my users also noted that on the details drop down bars in the cart, there was no text as the text was outside of the interface frame on Figma. Here is a clip of my medium fidelity user testing where the guest receives the link then enters their name. This is my journey map for my main user. When opening the Group Eats app, entering details and inviting guests, this process was quite seamless and I came across no pain points or development opportunities. When locating and navigating through the restaurant and adding to cart, this process was also quite seamless and there was no pain points. But when viewing cart checking out, there was a couple of issues that arose. For example, my first user, their actions were checking the details via the drop-down bars, going to checkout, clicking Apple Pay, and struggling to find how to process as there was no sign button on the actual phone. and they also found that there was no text on the drop-down bars for order details. My second user simply just scanned the cart, went to checkout and placed the order, and they came across no issues. My third user scanned the cart, went to checkout, clicked Apple Pay, and also struggled how to find out how to process the order, as there was no side button on the actual phone, and then tried to exit from the Apple Pay pop-up, which actually processed the order. When choosing Apple Pay, they could not figure out how to process it, and the order was processed rather than cancelling when they pressed exit, so this was an issue. My ecosystem testing was quite seamless, and there was not really any pain points at all, as they were opening the app, entering their name, locating and navigating through the restaurant, and adding to cart, and then viewing cart and notifying the user when they were ready. My users did this quite seamlessly, and there was no issues that arose. For my heuristic analysis, visibility of the system status at the end when selecting Apple Pay was an issue. The users that chose Apple Pay could not figure out how to process the payment, as there was no side button on the actual phone. Misunderstanding like this can be avoided when clearly informing users they are steered on the right direction with clear affordances signifying them of their selections. A clear confirm button was required. For errors, my users must be able to recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. One of my users clicked exit from Apple Pay as they wanted to recover from this choice. However, this processed their order rather than cancelling the Apple Pay selection and caused confusion. The correct micro interaction back to the payment interface was required. My final high-fidelity design ensures all missing interfaces were added, the correct flow and order of micro-interactions, and removed any interfaces or affordances that lacked user control or freedom, like the order lock warning pop-up. Designing a visual guide for my final design was enjoyable. I ensured I implemented a visual hierarchy into my style to present my visual elements in a layout that is easily interpreted and makes sense to users. I ideated different color palettes and decided on warm tones with light backgrounds for the interfaces. I developed a logo and decided on orange as the main brand color. I also used this orange color for important affordances to apply visual hierarchy. For typography, I utilized neat, simple sans serif fonts, and for icons, I applied UI conventions and common conventions found in other designs, making it less likely my users needed to relearn what the icon actually meant. They all share the same visual style. I use Adobe stock images to gain high quality, clear images for my restaurants on the app. Overall, I strive for the style to evoke fresh, aesthetic, and enticing feelings amongst my users. Thank you for listening to my presentation.